Welcome back, everyone, to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report for today, for Monday, September 30th. I left off with this article, as economy improves, more Americans pack up and move, and I was basically making the argument that where are you going to move, as far as getting the heck up out of the United States. You look at it and you think about how, oh, well, America, yeah, it's bad, but, it's better than most of the other places. And I've actually had that mentality too. But you have to think about how the government spies on you, and they're letting you know that openly. That's what it's all about, the whole Snowden thing, and spying on you. They're letting you know that you could have no expectation of privacy while you're on the internet. But I do have this kind of theory I've been thinking about today. I kind of came up with, people say, oh, well, the repressive regime and communist regime in China, well, or Russia, they're clamping down on protesters, on human rights protesters. And you think, well, let's see here. The United States, we just covered about how they have basically martial law enacted through a militarized police state. People are so scared that they're going to defend themselves, that they're going to create self-gun control after the Zimmerman case, using the media. So we have a different form of kind of state control or this type of power over us, and that is through the media. The media is very powerful. They can actually sway public opinion, and they can get companies and businesses shut down. They can get people to lose their jobs. They can overthrow governments without even firing a shot. So we have a different form of oppression here in the West. So I like it. I don't like it, but I think it's kind of funny and ironic when people in the West say, in the United States particularly, say that we're so free and start criticizing other people in other countries. So my theory is that if you look at countries that actually have primitive peoples still that are able to roam, i.e. nomads, you could actually equate that with freedom, at least a little bit more freedom in regards to state power over their people. The United States has notoriously, and like Canada, they have the native populations, what they call native populations. They're indigenous. They were primitives, basically. They were primitives. They were usually nomadic, a lot of them, but not all of them. And where are they? Well, they're in Gates. They're in a farm. They're on the reservations, right? They herded them in, and so they can no longer be nomads. That right there is a big symbol to me that that the United States is not a very free country. You go to places like Iran, they have nomads. You go to Mongolia, a former communist country, they have 50% of their country is nomads. Central Asia, such as Kyrgyzstan, they have a nomadic population. Even in Russia, they have populations that are primitive. In Africa, you have primitive tribes. Although they're trying to kill them off, they still do exist. Those democratic countries and democratic republics in Africa that were set up by democratic Western nations and imperialists that enslaved them for hundreds of years prior to that, imposed this thing called democracy on them. Well, now they're exploiting their mines, they're killing their water supplies, their water tables for all the primitive people, and basically making them go extinct. Down in South America, same thing. All these not puppet governments, but these governments that were set up, these quote democracies and these fascist republics and stuff, they do the same thing. They're exploiting mines, they're tainting water supplies, and but they still do have primitive populations that do exist in the Amazon. So you could actually say that there's many countries in South America and Africa and Central Asia that are actually more free than the United States. So where are you going to go? How are you going to go there? Well, I'm not going to be able to go back to any places that of my European ancestry, because whether it's Poland, Sweden, Irish, Georgia, I don't know my ancestors there. I tried to figure that out. Ask family members, they don't care. My grandparents, they don't care. That generation, the greatest generation, right? World War II. They don't care about their ancestors or their roots, or our roots have been cut off, so I can't go back there, or where am I going to set up there? But my main point is that those countries are just as not free as the United States, as the Western countries such as Canada and the United States, Britain, France, Germany, Scandinavia. All those countries have the same type of government power, so it's not really much better. That's basically my point. I guess if you're African or you're Hispanic or you're Asian, you could actually probably go back to your country, be around people that still look like you, unlike the European countries where they've been homogenized on purpose. And you could be around people that look like you. You could actually have more freedom. And maybe you won't be as able to buy big screen TVs and giant gas guzzlers. But if you want to be a nomad or you want to be a hunter-gatherer, you may be able to still do that. As far as the land of the free and the best country on the earth, the NSA gathers data on social connections of U.S. citizens. They've been exploiting huge collections of data to create graphs of some Americans' social connections that can identify their associates, their locations at certain times, their traveling companions, and other personal info. The agency can augment the communications data with material from public, commercial, and other sources, including bank codes, insurance info, Facebook profiles, passenger manifests, voter registration rolls, GPS location information, as well as property records and unspecified tax data. According to the documents, they do not indicate any restrictions on the use of such enrichment data, and several former senior Obama regime officials said the agency drew on it for both Americans and foreigners. U.S. has more people in jail than China and Russia combined. What's wrong with that picture? Well, they're making money, so there's nothing wrong with it at all. Criminal, how lockup quotas and low crime taxes guarantee profits for private prison corporations. This report says that it sheds light on the for-profit private prisons' industrials' reliance on high prison populations. And in Texas, a store owner has been arrested after killing a robber. The owner of a South Texas convenience store has been arrested for a murder after shooting a man attempting to steal beer from his shop. So, again, Zimmerman trial, right? This is what it's all about. Do not defend yourself. Police yourself. Don't shoot. Only cops can do that. Facebook wants to use AI to better understand what you post and predict online actions, reportedly conducting research on deep learning artificial intelligence technology to allow better analysis of the data captured from social networks, 1 billion users, through details of the experiments that remain secret. And that's kind of what the recent South Park episode was kind of about, right? Which was, you can't really expect privacy if you're going to post everything online, especially when it's well known that Facebook is set up by a front company for the CIA. Twitter, Amazon, these are all government extensions, and you should pretty much know that when you're dealing with it. And although they act as if, they act as if they're trying to prevent a terrorist attack. They'll visit people that post shit about, I'm going to blah, 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 Obama, or I'm going to, blow up, blah, blah, blah. It's really what they're looking for. They're looking for any type of social activism, whether it's fracking or whatever, right? That's what they're really looking for, and they want to see who's organizing, so that they can dispatch PSYOP agents and provocateurs to squash it. 1 in 5 will never stop working. 1 in 5 Britons now fear that they will never be able to stop working because of shortfalls in their pensions and savings. So basically, they're turning people into robots, and until they can get automation perfected, that's just my theory. Until they can get automation perfected to be able to do things such as jobs for lawyers and doctors and teachers to a certain extent, they're going to keep humans, and they're going to keep a bunch of humans around, right? Until they can get this technology there. It's almost there, and they're working on it. really closely. They're putting investing a lot of money into this, a lot of time. Besides it increasing profits, you don't have to deal with the pesky things such as humans having families to feed and stuff like that, and breaking their leg on the job and having to have them take a break. As far as depopulation measures, yeah, they're slow right now. The chemtrails, the food, it's making people, to where they're not going to live that long, but they're able to scrape by week to week, go back to their shitty job every Monday, and to be able to pay the bills. Enough money to scrape by, but not enough money and wealth like they had in the 50s to be able to have some kind of political sway, right? So they actually like high population numbers because it drives down wages. Another reason why they like to get women into the workforce, because it's another tax base. It destroys the family, which is another form of depopulation or population control, but it also lowers wages, as women are willing to work for less. No big news here. Robots may revolutionize China's electronics manufacturing. New workers' revolution is rising in China, and it doesn't involve humans. With soaring wages and aging population, managers say that days are approaching when robotic workers replace people on the Chinese factory floor. So when you see this happen right now, the robots, the automation, are not Americans. They're the Chinese, right? They're the actual robots until they can get real robots. And so when you see the Chinese and all the slave labor out there, sweatshops, workers getting replaced by robots, that's when you know the major depopulation agenda or plans will be taking place. Yeah, robotics revolution to replace most human workers in 3 generations, labor class to be systematically eliminated. So a bunch of people, useless eaters, right? 70% of the human race will be obsolete within just 3 generations. So as far as India goes, yeah, they try to do population stuff. You may see a hot war between India and Pakistan just to reduce the numbers of India. You may see a hot war with China and something just to reduce the numbers once they're done with them. I mean, China was handed the manufacturing industry. They were handed their economy by the West under one agreement, right? Stipulation that they have to have forced abortions, population control. India's sex-selective abortions begun by Western population control planners. It's so bad there, they actually go to India to rent a womb, right? They're so desperate. Places like Georgia, Russia, Thailand, and Ukraine, right? They're so poor that they'll actually get paid to carry another person's child. From where? Oh, from the places that civilized countries, the industrialized countries, the first world countries, the free countries where we're living in, right here in the United States and Britain, right? Britain, US, Australia, Japan, right? Where they're becoming more sterile. Ironically, these are the people that are self-policing with population control as well. These are people that don't want to have kids or can't afford to have kids. Speaking of women in the workforce and that driving down wages, look at this. Harvard's Humanitarian of the Year. The Pakistani girl survived assassination. Well, what about Benazir Bhutto, right? She was assassinated by the West. I guess she's not a humanitarian. She was outspoken critic against the U.S. CIA drone strikes. So she says here she was an outspoken proponent for girls' education. So, see, the militants were blowing up schools to discourage girls from going to school. Birth control will save the world from the 22nd despite the right's attacks. In many cases, it's simply the difference between poverty and a comfortable life. So instead of making it easier to get abortions, instead of making it easier to have contraceptive and discourage people to have kids and families, why not make it easier for people to have kids by helping them economically, by making them more financially secure to be able to have children? See, they use the economy as a population control measure, not just vaccines. Again, you have to think deeper here. So why would they have to write an article like this? How to save your marriage after having kids, right? Because having a kid is going to destroy your marriage. Well, the whole point of getting married and having a family is so you could have kids. Controversial late-term abortionists under fire for allowing parents to nurse and take photos and footprints of their dead baby for a memory box. Doctors are saying the public are misinformed about the importance of late-term abortion. It's just messy politics. That's the main hurdle to after-sex birth control, post-birth abortions, right? With Turkey's banning studio apartments in a bid to boost the nation's marriage rate. Those living alone has increased 70% in 10 years. Mutant bugs' task is to destroy their own species, so it sounds familiar, right? Like blaming humans for climate change. Even a weatherman says he's going to have no children and be happy to go extinct over climate change. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.